G'day everyone, it's me, the Anti-Theocrat, back with another one. Now if you're hearing crashing and banging, there is a clean-up crew in the slum next door finally moving out. They've been making a bit of noise next door, stopping me from getting to work. We're on number 3 or 4, and I am going to see if we can rush these through. We're going to work hard to rush these through in 2, so if I don't look like I'm covering this in depth, you can always go to the links I will provide and have a look for yourself to see just how long it would have taken to get through this entire document. I'm telling you, this is shite. What we're talking about is the NUS National Conference Policy 2017. This is the National Union of Students Australia, peg themselves as the largest national representative of students, tertiary students in Australia. And this is the conference where they get their policies together to be presented to go into policy for the organisation. And as we can see, I've covered this before. They have the usual administration stuff. Then they have unionism, education, welfare, women's, queer, LBGT, Torres Strait Island, disability, international, ethno-cultural, and small and regional. And as you can see, there are no men's officers or people representing men or even representing right-wing points of view or even moderate points of view. Because I can tell you now, none of these are presenting moderate points of view. Anyway, we'll get into it. This is part 3, and we are up to the queer LBGTIQA. Whatever in the fuck those extra letters mean. But they do have, and they noted in this document, both LBGT officers and queer officers. So I'm not sure why queer gets its own people, but apparently it does. Apparently the people who want more attention need it to the degree of having their own attention seeker. Because that's all queer means, isn't it? It's just attention seeking. Okay, because however you peg it, right, I'm going to go into this, because however you peg it, you are having sex with someone, you might be having sex with everyone, but that fits you into the LBGT. In fact, it fits you into LGB. T isn't even a sexuality, because those people are having sex with people too, and they're having sex either LG or B. So, yeah. But, yeah, queer is just attention seeking as far as I'm concerned. You can go and fly off something tall, as the Muslims would probably like you to do in any case. But let's have a look. The reason I'm going into this document is because I found these interesting bits. In going into policy, these documents are in their history for 10 years. So these have got another 7 years to run, this one, in their official documentation. Now, they've gone after fuck Milo Yiannopoulos. Yes, they've gone after Milo Yiannopoulos, who's probably getting a good laugh out of this if he catches this video. The fact that these people put this into policy. Homophobia and transphobia. Yeah, the gay guy is scared of gay people. He's so homophobic. As to transphobic, I don't know that he fears them. No, I doubt it very much. Maybe if one of those great big butch blokes was screeching in his face, "It's ma'am!" then maybe he might fear a little bit. In any case, who cares? I'm going to go through this document as fast as possible now, so let's crack on. Queer LBGT, safe schools. Okay, safe school. I'm going to just read this off. The Safe Schools program is one that was introduced in 2010 to Victorian schools. However, in 2016, the federal government decided not to renew funding for it. Due to this, by 2017, New South Wales, ACT, Queensland, and South Australia have ceased to be involved in the program and created their own program. The Victorian Education Department has taken control of it, and 54 schools in WA, NT and Tasmania have been nominated to participate in the Safer Schools program. This program is focused on encouraging safe and inclusive schools for LBGT, whatever kids, LBG and imagination kids. It allows teachers to pick pick and choose the programs they want to include and allow them to tailor it specifically to each school. However, it does fit specifically into any school curriculum in any. It doesn't fit into specifically into any school curriculum in any state. And that sounds lovely on the face of it, doesn't it? But this was government-sanctioned trans, the politicization of the trans movement. That's what it was. That's what this boiled down to. And it can go and fly off something very tall as well and get fucked. I'm so glad that it got pulled out of schools here, because it was something I was going to protest, and my son was going to have nothing to do with it. Thank you. My eldest managed to not get it during his education, although it was available in his time. It just wasn't implemented out here before he got out. NUS supports the involvement in the Victorian Education Department to include Safer Schools program in the entirety of the Victorian education curriculum. They're going to try and get this in every part of the education curriculum, because remember, it doesn't fit specifically into any curriculum. That means it fits into all curriculum. That's right. You can have trans maths, trans physics, trans biology. Well, actually, there's probably something in that one, but probably not what they want. Anyway, that's just their first one. There you go. They're going to support the education of children, and these programs were for children in primary school, right? These are pre-adolescent children were being subjected to these things. I think there's no need for it myself, but there you go. And by the way, we saw a drastic increase in the number of kids claiming to be transsexual after this program started. The schools were also required, not given choice, but required to support any children who decided that they were transitioning male to female and give them positive feedback. It was a requirement that the school support this. The school was not allowed to question in any way, shape or form, and the people who were providing this were not educators. These were just activists. Okay, Queer LBGT 7.2, an end to heteronormative and queer-phobic sex education. Education on sexual health has made great strides in the past years, however, it is largely homonormative. That's because heteronormative, because heterosexual activity is the norm, you dumb fucks. In any case, I don't know that there is a focus on that. When I went to school, the focus was on don't catch these nasty diseases and show you some pictures of some fucking horrid shit. Right? That's about all the sex education I remember. I got more out of girlfriends than I got out of classes. The lack of education can lead to sexual health problems due to a lack of awareness and understanding has seen the rate at which queer women... Well, I think the fact that there are people who consider themselves to be queer women shows a lack of understanding, full stop. I think these people are fucking thick. So I don't think if you presented them with sex education, they would learn anything good from that. Especially something like the Safe Schools program. Use protection during sex. Well, what the fuck are queer women not using protection for? Huh? Are you telling me that it's true that women have lower IQs, that queer women have the lowest of all? Is this what you're telling me? Oh, fucking, I'll buy that, you know. I will, because I think they are fucking dumb shits. And you're just pointing this out, that they are dumb shits. Everyone that I fucking know knew about frangers in my day. You know, I'm in my 50s, and we knew about frangers when we went to school. But queer women in WSW, whatever the fuck that means, they're too fucking dumb. They're fucking morons. This range of 3.5 to 14.3 depend on the relationship status and significantly lower than for heterosexual women. Right, so you're saying heterosexual women are more intelligent than queer women. I understand. I believe you may be right. A lack of education not only endangers the health of queer students, but it contributes to, surely, not understanding the basics of where this fucking little rubber thing or you get this nasty disease is something that's good for everyone, okay? Not just queer women. I don't think this is a queer issue. I think, however, there is a parent issue that needs to be considered, but you're talking about tertiary kids, and none of this relates to tertiary. What you're talking about is primary and high school kids. Because I'm telling you, if they've reached tertiary and they don't have this shit, what the fuck business is a university to wise them up? Okay. 7.3, It Gets Better campaign. The equality and freedom from discrimination, because those are factual things, are fundamental human rights that belong to all people. Are they? Are they? What exactly equality are you prescribing as a human right there, by the way? Because you don't define equality, so how am I supposed to know what version of equality is a fundamental human right? By the way, freedom from discrimination, how is that a fundamental human right? Why can't I discriminate against people? It should be my human right to discriminate. How is my right to discriminate overcome by other people's apparent fundamental right to not have discrimination? How do you police people from discriminating? It should be my fundamental human right to discriminate as I see fit. Now, if I was to be harming somebody through that, if I was to be breaking the law in some way, causing them harm, then maybe there are other laws that could be covered as human rights. The human right to someone's bodily autonomy, so that I can't go out and just thrash them because they claim to be... What do you got there? Sexual orientation, gender identity, or because they are intersex. I'll get back to that one. But yes, surely bodily autonomy is better than discrimination, because you also don't define what is discrimination. What do you consider discriminatory? All right? If I won't employ women because I've had a false report against me, am I actually discriminating against women, or am I protecting myself? Which side of that fence do we sit on legally? Because you're claiming this is a fundamental human right. Well, I want to know exactly what this fundamental human right is, and I don't see it being defined. Therefore, it can't be a fundamental human right. Can it? How can it be fundamental if I can question it this way? Fundamental should just be clear to everyone, right? Bodily autonomy. If you said everyone is entitled to bodily autonomy, that should be a human right, we would know what that meant, wouldn't we? And if you don't, then how in the fuck are you writing this policy document? And now back to the intersex thing. Because they are intersex, I really fucking hate these queers. And I'm going for the queers because they're the fucking brain dead morons sucking off people who are intersex, right? There is a definite intersex population in the world, and generally it's dealt with fairly easily. And a lot of people who are born intersex develop genitals without the assistance of doctors or anything else. Most intersex people have other problems. It comes with a whole range of other mental and physical issues. So I hate that these people who just decided that they're going to shave their head and they're going to call themselves queer, and that means they're just like the intersex. No, intersex people have genuine problems, or They will grow out of them when they are still babies. But these are not the same as what you're fucking doing. You're LARPing. You're playing little games like children. It's someone walking in our front door. And I'll close my door. A campaign around It Gets Better project will be run by the LBGTI officer, which is not the queer officer. 7.4, compulsory queer-specific mental health training for student counsellors. I do not believe this is necessary. I believe that the same training for mental health can be used for everyone. Everyone suffers the same mental health problems. All you're talking about is this person now has to give regards to the fact that you consider yourself special. Because queer is fucking just that, attention-seeking. Now, attention-seeking behaviour is just regular mental health issues. So get fucked. And this is where we learned that the National Queer Officer is separate from the LBGTI officer. So this is the attention-seeking officer, has its own attention-seeking department. It's good, isn't it? Allyship training for university staff, it's 7.5. And in the actions, it reads, the National Queer Officer will lobby universities to provide allyship training to all staff members, because whether they want to be allies or not, whether they believe in this political bullshit or not, whether they think this is an actual thing or not, they will be trained as allies. You will have the training. It will be compulsory. Number 2, the National Queer Officers will also lobby universities to mandate that allyship training will be compulsory for all university counselling staff. Didn't I say it? So for the counselling staff, you will be indoctrinated. You won't be able to deal with men's issues or anything else because you will be indoctrinated to only understand this imagined thing, because this is only queer, isn't it? It's only about the queer. All right, we're going to duck ahead a bit here because we've got 6.7, marriage equality campaign. 7.7, yes campaign, marriage equality. The importance of protesting the yes campaign, more marriage equality. Yes campaign in the workplace, more marriage equality. And I'm not sure exactly why this is something that students need to be worried about to get through their education. But coming up, they will make all of that 3 pages of document absolutely fucking pointless. 7.10, NUS LBGTI Student Days of Action for Marriage Equality. The importance of NUS and student unions mobilising students to take part in broader campaigns around social justice issues. Yes, apparently this is the most important thing that students must do and must be encouraged to do, is to be mobilised by the unions into social justice issues. Being gay is not a crime. It's a little-known fact these days that male homosexuality was criminalised in Australia as recently as 1997. That was a fucking long time ago now, wasn't it? But yes, I remember these things. I campaigned against these things. What of it? The NUS LBGTI department will campaign for any remaining historic convictions for consensual adult gay male sex to be overturned. See, I don't know that we should retrospectively overturn these things. This is just ignoring the history, right? It was not a good thing to be doing, okay? The fact that men want to bugger one another has nothing to do with anything except the men doing the buggering. Now, if they're doing it to children or people who don't want it done, then it's an issue. But if they're doing it amongst themselves, it is not an issue. It should never have been a crime. But if you overturn this, then where's the historic record? Where is the ability to remember these worst times, these worst days? Why can't we say, instead of overturning, I don't know, what do you do now? You just say, no, we're scraping that from your record at this juncture, but it'll stay on the record for the past. I don't know, there must be some room for that. I just don't think historic rewriting does anyone any good. 712, no pride in detention. Right, driving straight to actions. NUS will campaign to end torture of refugees and bring them here. What? Who was torturing refugees? The NUS will endorse protests for refugee rights. The NUS will provide material to build actions for refugee actions. You're going to spend money on your students' money on banners and flyers and posters to protect refugee rights. And somehow this is under LBGT, remember? Anyway, I do know that they go on about, how the LBGT members, refugees, get it worse. Well, fucking so do the atheists. It was long talked about a few years back that if you wanted to get through our immigration, and you had just reason to be running from, what are the worst states for just about everyone running from religion, the Muslim states. If you were an atheist running from the Muslim states, when you hit the counter that asked you the questions why you were running away, say you were Christian. Although you're an atheist, say you're a Christian, because an atheist was not considered to be someone who needed to run away from these things, but a Christian would get the green light straight away, running away from a Muslim nation. So, what about it? In any case, I do not believe that people were being tortured. I do believe that half the shit going on in those places was invented. 713, lift the blood donor ban on gay men. No, sorry, that was brought in for reasons of not spreading HIV into the general population. I think it would probably even go further to stretch and say that you queer people who are not fucking responsible for your sexual health, you shouldn't be allowed to donate. I mean, here you are telling me you can't use a fucking franger and you're more likely to get venereal diseases. Well, why in the fuck are you giving blood? You're putting other people who are already at risk because they are in need of your blood, and you're going to give them your blood knowing it may be of some danger to them. And since we stopped campaigning for AIDS, like back in the 80s, when I had a t-shirt of the Grim Reaper poking holes in condoms, because I was big in that campaign and trying to have the government recognise it and take it seriously. And when they did, we managed to basically control it in this country. And when we started to back away and ignore it because we had it under control, it started to rise again, didn't it? And it is still a problem for blood donors. And they are still the primary people to be in that category. Many universities in preferred names policy. Many universities in Australia still lack a preferred name option in the process of enrolment. So who gives a fuck? I've been Flora to everybody except my mother and my father. He just gets on my mother's bandwagon, but and he has called me Flora as well. I've been Flora to everybody in my life since I was 10 years old. Flora margarine came on the market. It had those lovely jingles and things that went with the ad campaigns, and I copped Flora. And big deal. So everybody knows me as Flora, but it's not on any documents. Does it fucking matter? My wife gets upset because the school spells our surname wrong. And she's worried that my son will not be able to properly access or make use of his school records if his name is not spelt correctly. So why the fuck do you want to get creative about what's written on your documents? How do you think it's going to help you? NUS will determine which universities currently offer a preferred name option and make this public. Well, that's good. NUS will work to ensure that those universities without a preferred name option incorporate one in... No, why? You don't have to enforce this shit on other people. Fuck, this is the bit we were after. Fuck Milo Yiannopoulos. Homophobia and transphobia. Gay alt-right. I don't think he's alt-right. I just think he's right. He is right-wing. Alt-right suggests he's a white supremacist, and I think given he married a black man, that's probably not correct. I think there's something factually wrong with that. So I think you can just call him gay right-wing would be a good way of putting it. I think he would agree to that. Serial bigot. Oh, no, he's a serial bigot. You know, I don't give a fuck. I listen to his reasons for why he thinks lesbians don't exist, and I happen to agree with him because I've met plenty of people who said they were lesbian, and the reasoning seems to be about the same as what he puts in his arguments why there are no lesbians. Hello, convenience. Milo Yiannopoulos is a disgusting homophobe and transphobe. Well, I don't think he's a homophobe. I do not think he's scared of gay men, gay people, homosexual people, given he himself is a homosexual man and married to a homosexual man. I do not think he's a homophobe. I don't think you can say that. As to transphobe, maybe if it was one of those things that screams, "It's ma'am," at fucking people in shops because they don't fucking get it, you know? I'm going to read this through because this is absolute fucking treasure, this one. Milo has parroted some of the most grotesque homophobic slander that have perpetrated our society against LBGT people. Or maybe he fucking believes that shit. Or maybe he says it just to get you lot to write him into documents like this so he can have a fucking laugh at you. And I can't blame him for either of those things. He has publicly linked homosexuality to pedophilia by describing child sexual abuse as a normal coming-of-age relationship in the homosexual world. Well, I think you need to go back and actually give time to what he actually said. He himself was... he said he had sex with a priest or a minister. I can't remember exactly who, but he did have sex with a guy, and he said that he himself was the predator in that case. He's the guy who went after the other guy. Now, for some gay guys, this might be true. I can't say that as a heterosexual man I didn't chase down women. I can't say that. My mother still blames my girlfriend when I was 15-year-old for me losing my virginity, and I keep telling my mother, if I hadn't been ready, if I hadn't been so fucking ready, it wouldn't have happened. But I was well and truly ready for it to happen. So, is Milo necessarily wrong? And when he's describing his own sexual relations, can you really say that he doesn't understand his own position? No, I think you need to look at this. In October 2015, Milo publicly stated on the Joe Rogan podcast that he would cure his homosexuality if he could. If he could. Could you just read that yourself, please? If he could. What this means is he understands that he can't. He understands that this is not a curable thing. He understands that this is just who he is. You're putting this forward as if he's all in favour of curing homosexuality. But even though you write this, you wrote in if he could. So he understands you cannot cure it. He referred to homosexuality as abhorrent and something Mother Nature does on the fringes. Well, it does. most men are not homosexual. It is something that nature does on the fringes. If he thinks it's aberrant, then that's his business, isn't it? But it is not common. In October 2017, he began selling t-shirts online bearing the slogan, "Lesbians aren't real." Clever man. Fuck, he got you riled, didn't he? And we know that the people behind all of this shit, the queer officers, they're all fucking women, aren't they? They're all women with shaved heads. So he fucking got you a ripper. But I've actually listened to his reason for why he believes lesbians aren't real. And every every actual lesbian I've ever met fits his narrative. I can't say he's wrong. And his website states that lesbians aren't real. They are just even more confused straight than straight women. Well, who cares? Who cares what he's got on his own website? I mean, for fuck's sake. But he does explain why he comes to this conclusion, and I've got no problem with it. Another t-shirt sold by Milo has "Stop Being Gay" blazoned on it. Oh, you know he's taking the piss out of you, don't you? Yeah, fucking know he's taking the piss out of you. God. Yeah, how dare the man sell t-shirts with slogans? What am I wearing today? Oh, no. I was wearing a better one yesterday. In October 2016, as part of his disgustingly named Dangerous Faggot Tour. Hang on. I thought you didn't think faggots were disgusting. I thought you thought faggots were normal. We're all faggots at heart, aren't we? So he's just saying that he is a gay man, and because of people like you who consider him dangerous, he must be a dangerous faggot. You know, he's got those dangerous t-shirts. He's got those dangerous ideas that lesbians aren't real. Milo delivered a transphobic rant at the University of Delaware where he claimed trans people were gay men dressing up for attention. Actually, I think they're sexual predators dressing up for attention myself, and that is coming clearer and clearer every fucking day, isn't it? I do not agree that they are all gay men. I think some of them are pedophiles. Hello? You ready to come at me now? I don't give a flying fuck. Look, the evidence stands clear that people who are predators put themselves in positions where they will find vulnerable people. Now, if you were a homosexual man not getting attention from people, or let's just say you're the sort of man who's not getting sexual attention from people, but if you dress up like a girly, you suddenly get attention that you weren't previously warranting. Then, of course, you put yourself in that position, don't you? Especially if you're a predator. And he says that they were mentally ill. Well, I suspect some are. The evidence that some of these people who... Oh, that means I've got to go and pick up a son from school shortly, so we better get through this. A lot of the men who have transitioned and are retransitioning back to their original sexes, birth sex, were actually misdiagnosed with other problems. So yes, I think mentally ill is a fair diagnosis of a lot of these people. He labelled them the other one, and I think dressing up for attention is more like predators. But yes, I know with the queer stuff, attention seeking is definitely a big part of it. He labelled them mutated trannies who could never be women or men. And I don't think he's entirely wrong. Listening to Blair, what's her name? I can't remember. But Blair says, I'm not even good at being a boy. Well, yeah, that's sort of the point, isn't it? And a lot of other people say that as well. So yeah, I don't see why you've got a problem with it. There are trans people who agree with him. Maybe not entirely, but there are trans people who agree with him in part at least. And there's nothing wrong with him holding his own opinion. Why do you have a problem with people with opinions? During the address, he encouraged support for the anti-trans bathroom laws for the dropping the T from LGBT. Well, I agree. T is not a sexuality. T is something else again. LGB is a description of the people you fuck. T is some sort of description of what you want to be when you fuck them. It is not part of the same thing. It's like queer. It's attention seeking. It's not important. It's not needed. It's like whatever the fuck I is anymore. None of that shit is needed. It should be GLB, because it was the gay men's movement before the lesbians moved in on it, and the lesbians hated bisexual women in particular. They called them taking the best of both worlds, was one of the lines I remember from back in the day when the B was being added. But it's the gay men's movement, taken over by the lesbians who tried to evict the boys. So it should be the GLB. That's the correct order in which this thing comes about. Why the fucking lesbians get their L at the front, I got no idea. They don't exist, you know. He egged his audience to never feel bad for mocking a transgender person. I don't. I really don't. But I don't mock transgender people who warrant my respect. I just mentioned one, in part by name, who I would give the time of day. No problem. I mean, I think that person has taken the surgery beyond where it was actually an attractive thing on that person, but I don't care. It's not my body and it's not me fucking it. So, and I say it in tense of just putting this out as a thing, not in reference to that person who I would never disrespect personally, because that person has warranted some respect from me. These people who wrote this shit don't warrant any respect from me. I would have no trouble taking the piss out of them. All those ma'am screamers, no trouble at all taking the piss out of them. In the lead up to the 2017 Australian Speaking Tour, Milo came out publicly in support of the No campaign against marriage equality and claimed that the rantings of marriage rights to LGBTI people would be an attack on religious freedoms. He is a Catholic. He is a Catholic and he's not wrong. You've gone down that path. If I had the choice tomorrow to vote on that referendum again, I would vote no. Because all the way up to that referendum, I was a supporter. And since that referendum, everything we said wouldn't happen. We said there won't be a slippery slope. We are talking about the relationships of adult humans, which should not be legislated, which should not be, illegal or mandated against in law. And it was always about that. Now you've got the pedophiles jumping on the back. You've got this bloody trans movement of attention seekers, the queers, and all these fucking... This is all the slippery slope we said would never happen. If I had my choice, I would vote against it tomorrow because it was a fucking lie. Everything about it was a lie. Even the idea that homosexual people wanted to get married was a fucking lie. There's a minority of that very small minority of that very small minority who want to get married, and they have the highest divorce rates amongst any group. Why the fuck should they have any right to marry? Marriage is essentially property law. And these people are not treating it that way. They are not getting divorced and separating the property. Well, some are having bitter divorces, but that is not what they're doing. Essentially, they're jumping from this. What is it? Serial marriages. Serial monogamists is not quite it. It's serial marriagists. Whatever. So no, I wouldn't support it. Not tomorrow. Not today. I wish I hadn't supported it when I did. Milo has employed his disingenuous concern for LGBT people to drive... Well, it's obviously not a disingenuous concern. He's gay, for fuck's sake. You think he doesn't have any concern? Do you think he and his husband don't give a fuck that they're treated like regular human beings? Drive various hatred against Muslims. Well, Muslims do throw gay people off buildings, don't they? Is this really so fucking hard for you to understand? Stating in a 2016 interview that as a gay man, I'm terrified by the prospect of a mass Muslim immigration and described homophobia as mainstream Muslim culture. It is. It fucking is. Do you think they're throwing you off buildings for fun? No, because they have a definite... It's the same in China. It's the same in a lot of places where they do not want this to become a normal part of their society. And that is more of a fear of it than what we have, than anything Milo has. All right, I'm not scared of you. I worked with a lot of you. I was active through the HIV campaign. I was active through the marriage campaign. I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of you being a part of our society. You will, apart from this fucking attention-seeking shit on the side, the T and the Qs and the Is and the what have yous, the LGBT community will always be a fairly stable minority group in our population who deserve the same rights as everyone else. But this is not how fucking Muslim nations see you. Get a fucking grip. This rhetoric can only serve to divide and pit two oppressed groups at each other. Who the fuck is oppressing Muslims in Muslim countries? Can you tell me that? You're talking about... This is based on the US. You're taking this out of the US. This is a pure US propaganda shit. That Muslims are a minority and they need the helps of the... Well, they don't need the fucking help of the LGB community, the GLB community, because the GLB community are not their friends. They are not your friends. They do not need your help. Back off. Go and find some real friends. I'm sure you've got some. It's not fucking me anymore. I'm quite over this shit. And I lean into the side of the LGBT community as a polyamorous man in a fidelity polyamorous relationship. So the fact that I've had enough of you, the fact that I don't give a flying fuck about you anymore, just get on with your fucking lives and shut the fuck up, leave me alone. What does that say to you? In every instance, Milo has proven himself to be an enemy of LGBTI people. Well, he is LGBTI people. How is he the enemy? He is one of you. He's just the wrong kind, isn't he? His identity as a gay man has been used by himself. Well, so you do recognise that he's a gay man. And the far right more broadly to obscure and deflect criticism away from far-right racist and bigoted politics. No, I would say, in fact, it is just the right's regular disagreement with this position that you hold. That's all they're that's all they're promoting, that's all they're talking about. You've just taken this to be far-right racist for some reason. You assuming Muslims are a race, and bigoted politics. Well, no, you're being bigoted towards them, they're being bigoted towards you. How? I mean, you're being an outright fucking bigot to Milo. How are you different from them in this? This is just the way it's always been. The vile politics of the alt-right. Well, again with the alt-right, I'm afraid Milo is not the alt-right, and most of the people he talks to are not alt-right. Do you think that white nationalists are going to be talking to a gay guy and they're going to get along just right, just fine? Everything's going to be dandy. They're going to have nice little conversations in the back room. I don't think so. and the movement they are attempting to build aim to intensify oppression of society under man. You're just full of shit. You are so full of shit. The National Union of Students stands firmly opposed to all forms of bigotry, except the bigotry you put forward towards religious people, except for Muslims, because apparently they're a race and we're not allowed to talk about them. But you can be bigoted towards individuals, women who don't agree with you politically. We covered them in the last video. And gay men who don't agree with you. You can be as bigoted as you like towards those people, can't you? So you're against bigotry except when you've been the bigots. The National Union of Students stands firmly opposed to homophobia, transphobia, regardless of the identity of the people who perpetrate it. No, because I do not believe homophobia and transphobia are what you're talking about, so I think you're just full of shit again. Especially when you discuss the Muslim world as if they are just as oppressed as you and the same as you, when in fact, if anyone has a problem that might be described as homophobia and transphobia, those are the people you should be talking about. The National Union of Students rejects and condemns the use of LGBTI issues and to stoke Islamophobia and racism. Well, Islam is again not a race. You can stop digging that fucking shit out, okay? And as to Islamophobia, I don't believe that it's an irrational fear that people like Milo are expressing. If your nation becomes majority Islamic, you can expect to take flying lessons from something high, with the aid of two big burly men who will hold either side of you as they toss you off the side of it. And then you can flap your arms all you like. We'll see how you go. The National Union of Students defends the right to protest against bigotry, except when they've expressed the bigotry. The National Union of Students defends protests as an exercise of free speech. I agree, but is it their business to fund them and to promote them and to supply signage for them? Is that really your duty? You can defend the right without doing that, can't you? Okay, the action. Should Milo Yiannopoulos return to Australia in future, the National LGBT Officer and National Ethnocultural Officer? And then we're talking about the fucking Muslims there, aren't we? That's who you're saying, the Muzzy Officer. And the National Women's Officer will collaborate with activists around the sea. See? You couldn't, could you? You defend the right to free speech, but you also have to get involved and make sure that you are only promoting one variation of speech. Are you providing signage and activists for Milo's side of this argument at all? Are you funding both sides of this discussion? No. So you do not defend free speech in any way, shape or form, because you're not supplying to both sides of this. You are only trying to shut one side down. These demonstrations against Milo Yiannopoulos will be endorsed and promoted and supported by all departments of the National Union of Students and its state branches. So all departments, even the ones who have no vested interest in this, they're all going to have to go out and protest Milo. Poor old Milo. He's fucking probably cacking himself rolling around at this point. Should Milo return, the LBGT officer and national president will issue joint press releases. I don't give a flying fuck. Look, you are fucking bigots. You are bigots and you have no fucking respect for free speech. Okay, I'm going to drop it at that point. I think we've gone long enough. 50 minutes is good enough. We can probably knock over the rest fairly quickly. It was the stuff about Milo that I really had the interest in with this one. The last part will just be finishing out this section. I've been the anti-theocrat. I hope these long and dreary readings are not going to drive you away from my channel. If anyone feels like supporting me, go for your life. But, you know, I'm not making any demands of you. You're not. I don't need you to protect my free speech or anything. Well, maybe I'd fucking do, because I'll be posting this to YouTube and I'm waiting for my channel to be noticed. I'm never going to get any fucking form of niceness out of YouTube. So if you are looking at my videos on YouTube now, please know that there is a list down below of all the other places that I post to. Yeah. The day will come when I won't be here anymore. Not on YouTube anyway. Alright, I've been the Anti-Theocrat. This has been another one of those videos I've created, and I will see you in the last part of this one shortly. Have a good one. May your gods remain fictional.